Welcome to Morgan's Mailbag, which today is all about my exclusive head-to-head interview with Candace Owens. Why did you leave the Daily Wire? A lot of attention has been focused on you constantly referencing Christ is King, but to deliberately use that phrase was a deliberate act of provocation to people like Ben Shapiro.
I want every single person in the world to declare Christ as King, whether you believe them to be a Nazi, a white supremacist, a Jew, a Muslim. It is the phrase itself that I want declared.
Who do you want to win the war, Ukraine or Russia?
I don't want Zelensky to win. I don't want Putin to win. I believe Zelensky is just as corrupt. I believe he is a criminal. What percentage of a population has to be killed before we can use the word genocide? It's a funny little thing. They won't tell you.
She said here, I would stake my entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron is in fact a man. With that statement, your entire professional reputation goes up in smoke.
Burn, you got me. You go, girlfriend.
I'll bet you $100,000 right now that it is established beyond any doubt that she was born a woman. Do you accept the bet, Candace?
Whoa, no. At best, Brigitte Macron is a pervert.
Well, that was Candace's first interview after her controversial departure from the Daily Wire a few months ago. It's been viewed by nearly 2 million of you so far, and with 40,000 also commenting on it. It's clear that a lot of you want to have your say on how it went down. I'll react to some of those in a moment. First, here's what Candace has to say herself on her own channel in the immediate aftermath of her Uncensored debut.
As I said yesterday and the day before, there are forces that are impacting your psyche every moment of every single day. And the biggest contributor to that is, of course, the media black magic. So yeah, yesterday I joined Piers Morgan. The team told me it's going to be 30 minutes. We're going to talk about some things, promote your show. And of course, I already knew it was not going to just be 30 minutes. I knew he was going to throw absolutely everything at me. But I went anyways because I think it's important for people all around the world to see that you don't have to fall for these government and media initiatives. You can stand on what you believe and you can survive.
Oh, come off it, Candace. We told you we'd go for an hour. And we went even longer because it was good fun. It was a good debate. A bit of to and fro from both of us. We won one, we lost one each, and so on. I enjoyed it, and you enjoyed it because we texted each other afterwards, didn't we? So calm the jets about, I was used, it was awful. No, you weren't. It was all good fun, all good sport, all good debate. That's what this show's all about. It's what you should be all about, and I think you probably are. We're going back to the beginning of our conversation. We started by addressing the elephant in the room, Candace's departure from the Daily Wire. Why did you leave the Daily Wire?
Well, unfortunately, I can't talk about the specific reasons that I left the Daily Wire, but what I can do is respond to whatever reasons were given to the public. And obviously, no sooner did we agree to leave than Andrew Klavan of the Daily Wire did an entire episode stating that the reasons that I was leaving was because I was anti-Semitic and I was engaging in a type of anti-Semitism that was hard to pin down. And that is why in my first episode of launching my independent podcast, I hit back pretty hard at him because, I think it's pretty despicable, first and foremost, as a colleague who I had a great relationship with, to have engaged in that, knowing that I was not at liberty to say anything. I thought it was a very underhanded, disgusting tactic, and I responded in force.
Well, James Vasquez thought my interest in this topic had ulterior motives. How much did Ben Shapiro pay you, Piers Morgan? Nothing. Nothing, literally not a penny. I don't work for Ben. And @Ty Tunes, meanwhile, drew an unflattering comparison. Piers had a boring dialogue with Ben Shapiro, more like two lovers talking. Wow. But when it was time to interview Candace, he attempted to tarnish her image. Piers just knows how to lose fans. Piers is compromised. He's doing his big boss's will. You got me. You got me. Is it that obvious? Dear, oh dear. Yeah, I got a big check from Ben, and I just do what my big bosses tell me to do. It's been my reputation for many decades. Well, my discussion with Candace then moved on to more substantial matters, in particular whether Israel's responsible for a genocide in Gaza.
Well, what I've been having trouble is all of the people that are pro-Israel and say it's not a genocide won't tell me what is a genocide. What percentage of a population has to be killed before we can use the word genocide? It's a funny little thing. They won't tell you. They won't tell you what constitutes genocide. So I would like a clear understanding of how many Palestinians have to die before we are allowed to term it a genocide.
At Joanna Burnethy 8361, where do they get these names from? Said an offensive is not judged a genocide according to numbers. If it were, the Allied forces of World War II would have been judged a genocide because they killed more civilians than the Nazis did. Genocide turns on intent. Candace is wrong about this. It's always been my definition, certainly since the Nuremberg trials. In contrast, at Testy Cleese thought there was room for debate. Piers seems to have overlooked the fact he said that the thing that defines genocide is intent, but then goes on to say that half of the Israeli cabinet are using genocidal language, which would therefore show this intent. But at the same time, he turns around and says he doesn't think it's a genocide. Well, I think to clarify that, I think it's about two members of that cabinet, Smodrich and Ben-Gvir, who have used language that I think definitely strays into the area of potentially sounding genocidal. But I think you can certainly question whether what Israel's actually been doing constitutes a genocide. Because as people have pointed out, they have the military firepower, should they wish to kill every Palestinian with 2 or 3 massive bombs. And they've chosen not to do that. So if their desire, if their intent was to literally eradicate every Palestinian on the Gaza Strip, they could do that. That's the difference, I think, between people's interpretation of what is happening here. A large part of the controversy around Candace is her persistent use of the term Christ is King, which some see as an anti-Semitic dog whistle. We discussed that.
So if you find me saying Christ is King to be abhorrent, same thing. You don't have to support me, you don't have to follow me, but let me tell you, I'm going to continue to declare that Jesus Christ is the King of Kings.
At Pine and Ginger, back Candace, people being triggered by Candace affirming Christ is King and claiming it's anti-Semitic speaks volumes of the spiritual and psychological warfare being waged upon us. She's well equipped for the battle. At Shulk disagree. Wanting the whole of the world saying Christ is King, regardless if people believe that or not, is in itself a despicable thing which shows how immature this person is. Well, it's tricky, isn't it? Because, look, I'm a Catholic, brought up a Catholic, I'm a Christian, and the words Christ is King don't offend me in the slightest. But I can understand how if used in a certain context by certain people, the likes of Nick Fuentes and others, if you use it deliberately in a way that you believe is antagonistic to people like Ben Shapiro and other Jewish people, then I can understand why it would cause a lot of offence. Like all these things, it's about context and motivation and why you're trying to make a big deal of something. Well, next, our one-on-one turn to another topic that Candace and I have significant differences on.
You were like, get the vaccine, da-da-da-da. If you don't do the vaccine, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden now we're finding out that, and you would have called someone like me, what, anti-vax, trying to kill someone, all of these things. Well, I didn't get the vaccine. My family didn't get the vaccine. And now we're on the other side of this thing and people are like, well, maybe I had it wrong. Maybe I have some regrets.
A lot of support in the comments for Candace's take on this. At BT Penny Cook said, well done, Candace, exposing Morgan over COVID. At Maid of Florane weighed in. How Piers Morgan can still defend COVID vaccines beggars belief. I'm stunned. Well, COVID vaccines worked. I mean, they had very unfortunate side effects for a certain number of people who took them, as every vaccine in history has done. And there should be proper inquiries into those, which are going on, to try and ensure that next time there's a pandemic, we can improve how we responded. But this idea that somehow the COVID vaccines didn't work is for the birds. They literally saved millions of lives. I was wrong about saying that people who weren't vaccinated should be deprived certain rights because I believed what the scientists said at the time, that if you had the jab, you couldn't infect other people with the virus. That wasn't true. So I changed my mind. You guys should try that too. You should say, you know what? The COVID vaccines weren't perfect, but they saved a hell of a lot of lives. And thank God we have brilliant scientists who were able to do that for us. Candace and I also clashed over her views on Taylor Swift, who she calls the most toxic feminist in the world.
Taylor Swift is cosplaying a 15-year-old. She's 34 years old, shrewd businesswoman. She's the same age as me. We're born in the same year. She's going to be 35.
That's
Actually,
young.
she'll be 35 in a couple of months.
You're young, Candace.
Okay? So, yes, sure. But she's cosplaying a 15-year-old. So when Taylor Swift wants to get something done in the business world, what she does, that she jumps on Tumblr and she manipulates a bunch of 15-year-olds into believing, I wrote these songs on my floor, and in Scooter Braun, the evil man is trying to take them from me. The reality, her dad owned 15% of the company. Her dad, therefore, was aware that the business was being sold. Her dad signed the deal. If Taylor Swift wasn't the most famous woman in the entire world, she would just be wealthy because she comes from a very good background. She didn't get into some deal where she was taken advantage of. Her dad just didn't think she was going to be as big as she was.
At JNixo9900 said Candace is absolutely right about Taylor Swift. She plays being a young, innocent girl, and in fact, she has a huge machine around her writing her songs, deciding what her next look will be, figuring out how to manipulate the audience for just one more album. Wow! Wow, imagine a massive pop star having a team around them, working on their image, or even their songs. Crazy thought. Oh, hang on, that would be every pop star in history. Get over yourselves. She's fantastic. The most surreal part of our conversation with Candace was about the French First Lady, Brigitte Macron. I use the word lady advisedly because she's a biological woman. And Candace's frankly not so contention that she is in fact a he, well, is again for the birds.
I think Brigitte Macron is a trans woman. And I think the fact that
not.
when Brigitte Macron... Okay.
Where's your evidence that she is? Not surprisingly, at Mental Streak 6119 sides with the conspiracy theory. Per the Brigitte Macron story, find the brother or photos of her life. I don't believe for a second that any court would actually not protect Macron. Piers has no journalistic curiosity whatsoever. No, I do. Of course I do. But Brigitte Macron is a woman. She had 3 kids. They exist. Just please, don't be dumb. So who won our debate, Candace or me? Well, different people saw it different ways. At Jamie C7730 emphatically declared in favour of my guest. She made Piers look like a right donut. I do love donuts. At Ali Karma 5849 used a different food metaphor. Morgan smoothie anyone? She absolutely ran him through the blender, lol. Not everyone was on Team Owens, however. At VenkX gave me the decision. I kind of liked her before, he said, but oh my God, she dodges every question and states some weird BS. She was always annoying, but this is on another level. At Chrissy Tabin 4084 agreed. I don't like Piers, but he's far more intelligent than Candace. Candace just bitches about people. Well, I've been known to do that myself as well. I think Candace is smart. She's got a lot of opinions. She expresses them forcefully. She's a good debater. I enjoyed our encounter, and I hope we do it again soon. Because actually, variety of opinion is the spice of life in a free democratic society. It's what this show's all about. I like Candace Owens uncensored, and she can come back here anytime, even if some of the things she says are completely nuts. Well, finally, for this episode of Mailbag, as ever, a sizable portion of you chose to get personal with your comments, and Candace's cheerleaders certainly came out in force by attacking me. But we're totally uncensored, so I'm happy to read some of them out. Piers is a hyperbolic, disingenuous narcissist, said Ciasels6553. No real denial there. At ANTNJ81 quipped, Piers is in a nutshell a type of neocon establishment porn that made me stop calling myself a Republican. And at Tom Colisomo was crisp and to the point in his insult. Morgan wanker, period. Yeah, fair enough. That's it with a special edition of Morgan's Mailbag. Remember, if you want to watch the whole interview, as well as debates that follow, then they're available on our YouTube channel. Leave a like and subscribe while you're there. We're nearly at 3 million subscribers. We are the fastest growing YouTube channel of its kind anywhere on planet Earth. So become part of our growing community and get involved. Until next time, though, keep it uncensored.